It's time for today's travel and cruise industry news. With the latest from travel and cruises around the world, here's your host, Chillie Falls.
Good morning and welcome to Travel and Cruise Industry News podcast on this, the first day of July 2024, coming to you from a cooling Bedford County, Virginia. Temperature is only going to get up into the low 80s today and into the 50s tonight, which means the temperature in the pool is going to drop substantially. So I probably won't get out there today, but tomorrow, it's going to get warmer again, of course, but it's probably going to be cold again for a day or two. All right, guys, it started off being other than the weather, started off being an extremely slow day news-wise, and then literally all hell broken loose in the last 15 minutes. So we got breaking news coming up on a wildfire at Denali and what we've been able to learn at this point. The top story today is tropical weather update. Also this morning, celebrity Beyond Adjusts Itinerary, man overboard from Adora, Magic City, and a different kind of rescue. And that and lots more here at 11 o'clock this morning. Today, folks, before we start, is Canada Day. For all of our folks north of the border, all of you guys that have traveled with me on numerous cruises now, happy Canada Day to each and every one of you. One of my favorite stories of trips to Canada, which I have related on this show numerous times. I was in Halifax on Canada Day. Now I'm going back 10 years ago, maybe. At least, maybe longer than that. But anyway, it's been a while. And we got off the ship. I had a girlfriend with me. And we walked down into the heart of Halifax. And we turned up the hill for a couple blocks. And then turned across parallel to the main street below. If you're familiar with Halifax, you know exactly where I'm talking about. So about halfway across that long stretch of blocks, a couple blocks up from the main drag, was a nice little restaurant, cafe, had some outdoor seating. We went inside and sat down, and come to find out that there was a lot of folks, Canadian folks there, to watch the parade. So when they found out there were a couple Americans in the house, they all came over and were just talking and kidding with us and buying drinks and some kind of crazy beers, Blue Schooner beer or something like that, some brand that I wasn't familiar with. But anyway, we sat there all afternoon, watched the parade, the Canada Day parade, and then just partied with these folks. It was terrific. One of my favorite trips to Canada. All right. Let's get on with the things that are more important today. If you're listening via the podcast, you can always access the podcast via my blog, which is accessadventure.net, or wherever you get your podcast from. Just search for Travel and Cruise Industry News, and voila, up pops the Fat Travel Guy. All right, so the breaking news story this morning, folks, literally just moments ago found out that a wildfire has broken out at Denali resort area in Alaska, of course. Now, where? There we go. All right, so this is some pictures right off the wire. That's the resort, the main resort, looking over toward the wildfire. This is what it looked like a little bit later. And this was what it looked like looking over toward the mountain from another location. Now, what I've been able to learn at this point is that the resort area is currently without power on all the resorts and without water. Of course, this time of year, they're full. Travel is expected in and out of that area daily. This possibly could change, folks. Keep in mind, it's only like 6 o'clock in the morning up there. So there haven't been a lot of announcements for changes during the day today. The fire has jumped over the railroad tracks. So none of the resorts are on fire at this point, but it's getting terribly close. And as far as anyone being able to get in or out, we just don't know at this point. Clearly, this is something that we'll be staying on top of and watching closely. But the resort area at Denali National Park is on fire, not actually the resorts itself, but a wildfire very, very close to the resorts. All right, I'll be back with today's news after a quick break from one of our fine network sponsors. Okay, so the top story this morning, folks, we have to deal with the tropical weather, of course. And so let's take a look at where we are. All right, so this is the general overall map. So what I'm sure by now most all of you know is that life-threatening winds and storm surge has begun as Beryl is taking aim and in the Windward Islands. Most directly, it has just skirted past, the eye itself has just skirted past Grenada in like the last 10 minutes. So the eye itself did not go ashore at Grenada, but it was really close. Now, if you remember, folks, on a hurricane, the eye wall itself is the strongest, around the eye wall is the strongest winds. When an eye goes across an area, I mean, it's calm, the sun's shining, and then boom, you get back in the eye wall and all hell breaks loose. So just missing Grenada, that's not necessarily good news, because you've got that circulation of strong winds that's just continuing to pound on Grenada as it passes by. Okay, so that's not a good sign for Grenada. No, obviously no reports on damages yet. But this was a rapidly intensifying storm. Currently, it's Category 4. It's located about 40 miles southeast of St. Vincent, has just passed Grenada. Sustained winds are 130 miles an hour. It's still moving rather rapidly, moving west at 20. The central pressure is 959 millibars, and that has been dropping all morning. Hurricane warnings have been in effect for Barbados and St. Vincent and the Grenadine Islands. Currently, they are in effect for St. Lucia and Tobago. Beryl was a rapidly intensifying system that reached Category 4 before going through an eye wall replacement cycle that weakened to a Category 3 during the night last night. Then in the past 3 hours, she re-intensified back to a Category 4. Further intensification is possible because it's not going to be going over any land for some time. it looks like, and the islands that it's going to hit or go over are too small to do much to tearing the storm down. So now it looks like it's going to be heading right across the southern Caribbean, just over open water, straight till it gets to Jamaica. It's also very warm water, so the chance of it going up are still relatively high. A continued westward to west-northwestward motion is expected during the next few days. The center of Beryl is expected to move across the windwards today, as it is doing right now, across the southeastern and central Caribbean late today and through tomorrow. Fluctuations in strength are likely during the next day or so, but Beryl is expected to remain an extremely dangerous major hurricane as its core moves through the windwards into eastern Caribbean. There's a possibility of some weakening, but it looks rather unlikely to me. Beryl is forecast to remain a hurricane at least through Jamaica in the middle of the week. Now, the second storm we have to look at before we do that, this is what Beryl was like earlier today, and this was from Barbados, which it was considerably away from Barbados. It wasn't anywhere near a direct hit on Barbados, but it's pretty dicey stuff, as you can tell. All right, so the second storm is Chris. It became a tropical storm yesterday. Now, this is the one that was just, given Elizabeth fits. So if you look back at the map over here, if you recall last weekend or Friday and Saturday, Elizabeth was getting rained on horribly. That was what was the start of Chris, which became a tropical storm, and is now tropical storm as it crossed the Bay of Campeche. It has now moved on, and the weather for Elizabeth in Playa del Carmen, get my tongue twisted, Playa del Carmen is a lot nicer today. But what we don't know, and what they don't know in that area, the most likely path of Beryl is to go directly west and hit the Yucatan or Belize, which is just south of the Yucatan. There are other models that has it bearing off to the north, but the most likely right now is Beryl is going to follow Chris and go right back into the Yucatan Peninsula, which means Elizabeth will get affected by the Beryl as it comes through. And of course, she probably is going to go to a safer location for the storm. At least that's what she was talking about this weekend. I don't know if she's in the chat room today or not. Don't know if she's got a power back or not yet. But anyway, that's what's coming ahead as far as Hurricane Chris goes. Chris is now ashore and is likely to dissipate later today. So we're not going to hear much more of Chris as it starts downgrading rapidly. Invest 96L is the one that's still over toward the central portion off of Africa that we've been watching. And this is going to be following Beryl, but it does not appear that it's going to develop the strength that Beryl developed. However, it most likely will be developing some over the next 72 hours or so, maybe 60% chance of strengthening. So you got to watch it. Probably will become at least a tropical storm. So this is the most likely path of Beryl as it goes, possibly a direct hit in Jamaica. However, it could possibly just slide to the south of Jamaica, which means it's more likely to come ashore in Belize. However, just one tick of one way or the other on any of this could throw it anywhere up and down the Yucatan Peninsula. So even though they've been just getting literally drowned in weather here for the last month, you got more coming. So that's the weather as we know it at this point. Now, oddly, the only storm-related announcements comes from celebrity. But we had one this weekend on the Icon of the Seas changed their itinerary, but Celebrity Cruises has adjusted this week's itinerary for Celebrity Beyond to keep the ship further from the storm's impact. The good news for guests is that they will still enjoy all the ports of call, just in a different order than originally planned. I got some questions on this one, guys. The Celebrity Beyond is currently sailing on the ABC itinerary, which is, of course, is Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao in the Southern Caribbean. The ship left Port Everglades in Fort Lauderdale on Saturday for an 8-night sailing. After 2 days at sea, Beyond was supposed to have visit Bonaire tomorrow, which is the easternmost of the island, followed by Curacao and Aruba on Wednesday and Thursday. Hurricane Beryl is also scheduled to be closest to Bonaire tomorrow. So they reversed the ports of call. Guests aboard the Beyond were notified of the itinerary change to keep better distance from the storm. They reversed the ship, so she'll be visiting Aruba first, followed by Curacao, then Bonaire. Now, I'm not 100% sure about this, folks. That storm is still going to be extraordinarily close, and you're going to be down there south of it. It's on the dirty side of the storm. Man, that looks... It could be uncomfortable at the very least for the folks on Celebrity Beyond. I don't know. I'm not sure that I wouldn't have gotten completely out of Dodge and just gone to a different itinerary altogether, because I'm not at all sure these folks can even enjoy the cruise in that, with that kind of, maybe I'm wrong, but I got some second thoughts on that one, guys. All right. I'll be back with some more after this. Join me on the MSC Grandiosa sailing from Port Canaveral, Florida on February 14th, 2026 for 8 days and 7 nights. The Grandiosa will stop in Nassau, Ocean Key Marine Reserve, and Puerto Plata. Please ignore the graphics on this particular cruise, as I'm having them redone today, but I wanted to get the special out to you. The prices are now from $588 per person. That's for double occupancy. Solo prices, listen to this one, folks. Solo prices for 8 days and 7 nights is $738. Solo prices with the drinks package and Wi-Fi is only $1,052. That's including all taxes and port charges. So join me on the MSC Grandiosa, February 14th, 2026. To book, all you have to do is call me, 434-258-9264. Put down a deposit and save those prices. All right, so there's an issue coming out of Adora Magic City. It was reported yesterday that the Chinese ship Adora Magic City encountered a serious emergency when a male passenger jumped overboard while the ship was traveling from Shanghai to Jeju Island in South Korea. The incident occurred around 7 a.m. as the ship was approximately 90 nautical miles from Jeju. The ship's crew discovered a man's disappearance through surveillance footage, which showed him climbing over the railing and plunging into the water. Despite the crew's immediate response and collective efforts of the passengers, Shanghai Maritime Search and Rescue Center, Chinese maritime authorities, and additional ships, several cargo ships included from China, also joined in the search. However, no trace of the passenger was found. And the final story this morning is a little different kind of rescue. And folks, I'm taking full liberties with this. Technically, it's not a news story that I would normally use on this show. However, I am an absolute lover and follower of Vancouver Aquarium. To me, it's the best aquarium at sea. Well, the Vancouver Aquarium Marine Mammal Rescue Society responded to an orphaned female sea otter pup that was found by a member of the public in the Tofino area. The Department of Fisheries and Oceans asked Vancouver Aquarium to step up, and the young pup was brought to the rescue facility late Saturday night. The otter has received fluids and an initial physical exam. She is currently being provided a specialized formula, which she is readily eating. The veterinary team is cautiously optimistic as her condition has stabilized a bit. Some sea otter pups rely on their mothers for survival because they can't swim, they can't hunt, and they can't regulate their body temperatures on their own. This pup is now receiving intensive round-the-clock care from dedicated staff and volunteers at Vancouver Aquarium. Now, of course, their initial thrust of this, folks, is they'll certainly try to get this sea otter pup back to where it can be released to the wild. However, that's going to depend a lot on how much the pup can learn and develop without being around its mother. I don't know if they have surrogate mothers there in their herd of sea otters, but that we'll just kind of follow that one along too. I love the guys there though at Vancouver Aquarium. My favorite spot in Vancouver. So join us on the post-dry dock Norwegian Bliss Transatlantic from Southampton to Miami, sailing February 2nd. 13-night transatlantic cruise starting at $1,043 per person, including taxes and port charges, stopping at Le Havre, Vigo, Lisbon, and Puerto Delgado on its way to Miami. You arrive in Miami on February the 15th. This looks to be a fabulous transatlantic cruise on the Norwegian Bliss. Call me, 434-258-9264, and join us in Southampton.
I regularly post videos on all.
I didn't want to do that. All right, so that's a great cruise, folks. And right now, it's really a good deal. It is especially for solos. Solos are at 0%, zero supplement. So take a look at that one. All right, that ends the news portion of today's show. Let's go see who's fussing at me in the chat room. Mike's with us. Good morning, Mike. There's Kenneth up in Pennsylvania. Steve out in Kentucky. There's Hot Air Tom. Cindy's with us. Cindy, I'm not used to you here first part of the show. Joanne's here. Well, there's amigo John. And yes, I'll be on the February 2nd, Southampton to Miami. Fun and games for all. Absolutely. I'm looking so forward to that. I've said this before. Many of you have followed John and I and our exploits over, 5 years now, I guess, that John and I have been doing stuff together. John and I have never met in person. So this will be a very well needed meeting when we get together in Southampton. All right, Bob's with us. Good morning, Bob. Cindy says, John Hill just said there was one ship that was impacted with a reverse itinerary, Carnival Liberty. Carnival had not announced anything when I was writing the show this morning, if that has come out since then, but there was nothing on any other ships other than Icon and Celebrity, and I knew it had to be other ships. So they were just a little slow this morning in getting those publicized. So Carnival Liberty is also reversing their direction. Katie's with us. Morning all. My company's all gone, so now I am relaxing. Good for you, Katie. Controversial Cruising says, hello, everyone. Controversial Cruising, glad to have you with us. Coming in on an Eddie Lugo studio recommendation from his daily list. Well, we're glad to have you. We love Yo-Yo Brooklyn in the house, Eddie. And I'm a particular fan of Eddie's cat, Pickles, who has been on this show before. So glad to have you with us. Please feel free to join in us anytime. We do this 5 days a week. And then over the weekend, like Saturday, I did a show specifically on weather. I was borderline whether to do another show yesterday, decided to give my voice a break. But anyway, feel free to join us anytime. Good to have you with us. Hot Air Tom says he looks forward to meeting John too. Cindy says, I'll be on the MSC Seashore on Thursday. Port Canaveral to Bahamas only. Hoping for good weather. Yeah, you should be okay there. Thinking and praying for Elizabeth. Yeah, we are too. I'm sorry she isn't with us today, but because she did send me a weather update this morning, and it's sunny, and the storm has moved on from Playa del Carmen. So, all right, guys, that's going to wrap me up for today. I will be back here tomorrow. I will monitor the news through the day today. If anything major happens with the hurricane or if there's any major changes, I will let you know as soon as I know about that. John says there's a big storm up there, more than an inch of rain in the next couple of hours. That's terrific. Lots of big storms. Controversial Cruising says, yep. We're probably going to get some rain here today, but then a cold front. And boy, I hate that for my pool. Now I have to admit, folks, this weekend, for me to call it bath water, I mean, I'm a sissy with the cold water. I admit that readily. And it was like bath water for me. I mean, somebody like Amanda that likes the cold water, my niece, I mean, to her, it's like she gets in the pool and sweats. She feels it's hot water to her. But yeah. So I hate losing some temperature off my pool. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for today. As always, stay safe, stay healthy. Think about cruising. Hopefully one day soon we'll all get together on the high seas. You guys think about some of the cruises that I'm offering, and we'll see you next time on Travel and Cruise Industry News. Have a great day, everybody. See you tomorrow.
I regularly post videos on all facets of the travel and cruise industry, so if you like to keep up with the latest in cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves, chilly chats, and travel and cruise industry news, just hit the little subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner, hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when a new video is up or we go live. This video was produced by Chillie's Cruises.